Welcome to our deep dive into Airbnb's business model. We're cracking open their recent financial filings,
Mhm.
trying to get a sense of how this hospitality giant actually uh, makes money and what challenges they bump into along the way.
It's like a backstage pass to the inner workings. It's really fascinating.
Absolutely. And, most people, when they think of Airbnb, they think, oh, it's just a platform to rent a cool apartment, a unique home,
Mm.
But there's so much more to it.
Oh, there's a lot more to it.
Their revenue streams are more complex than you might think.
Much more complex, yeah. It's obviously their core function is connecting guests and hosts, but the main source of their income are the service fees they charge on each booking.
So they're not just like taking a cut from the nightly rate. They're charging both the guest and the host for using the platform.
Exactly. So guests are paying a percentage on their booking subtotal, and hosts are also paying a percentage of what they earn. It's a clever model because they're facilitating the whole transaction, from booking to payment to review.
And that makes a ton of sense. But I imagine handling billions of dollars in transactions can't be cheap. What are some of the key costs that Airbnb has to deal with?
You're right. Payment processing fees are a significant expense for them. Those small percentages on each transaction, they add up very, very quickly when you're dealing with such a high volume.
And there's always a risk of fraud and chargebacks too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Adds another layer of complexity and cost for sure.
Yeah,
But payment processing is only one piece.
right?
Their technology infrastructure is another major, major cost driver.
Yeah, they need massive data centers, I imagine, right? To store all that information about listings and users and transactions. And then they're constantly developing and updating their platform.
Absolutely. They're using AI and machine learning for everything now, from fraud detection to personalized recommendations.
Wow.
It's a sophisticated operation that requires constant investment in technology.
It sounds like Airbnb is as much a tech company as it is a hospitality company.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah.
And of course, they need to provide customer support for this global community of hosts and guests.
Which I can only imagine is a massive undertaking, considering they offer 2047 support in multiple languages
Well,
across all these different time zones.
it certainly is. It's a key part of their value proposition, providing a seamless and reliable experience for users around the world. And it's not just about resolving technical issues, right?
Right.
They also need to be experts in navigating the various regulations and legal requirements in all these different locations.
And speaking of regulations, that must be a huge and growing expense for Airbnb.
Oh, it is. As they get more and more popular, they're facing, increasing scrutiny from cities and governments that are concerned about the impact of these short-term rentals on housing markets and neighborhoods.
So they're constantly battling legal challenges, adapting to these new rules, trying to stay ahead of the regulatory curve. Sounds like a constant headache.
Definitely adds a layer of complexity to their operations. But let's not forget about their customers. What is it about Airbnb that makes it so appealing to both guests and hosts?
Well, for guests, I think it's the unique and diverse accommodations that they offer. You're not limited to these standard hotel rooms. You can find everything from tree houses to yurts to castles on Airbnb.
What's about offering experiences, not just lodging?
Right.
And for hosts, it's an opportunity to earn some extra income by sharing their space.
And it's not just about the money. I think there's also this sense of community and connection that Airbnb fosters. Guests get to interact with their hosts, and they, get a more authentic local experience.
That's a key part of their brand identity. They want to create a sense of belonging and connection for both guests and hosts. But I'd say what truly sets Airbnb apart, in this crowded travel market is their focus on individual hosts
Okay.
and their ability to really leverage technology to enhance the user experience.
So it's not just a platform for listing properties. It's a sophisticated ecosystem that connects travelers with these unique accommodations and experiences, and then they use technology to personalize the journey.
Exactly. And then, of course, they have their live and work anywhere policy, which attracts top talent, but also adds to the complexity of their operational structure.
Right.
It's a bold move that reflects their commitment to a flexible and globally connected workforce.
It's definitely a differentiator. It's clear that Airbnb's business model is more than meets the eye.
It's a very delicate balancing act, managing costs, navigating regulations, and then constantly innovating to meet the evolving needs of their users.
It's fascinating to see how they manage it all, but we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to unpack when it comes to Airbnb's operations.
Oh, yeah. Now that we've kind of outlined their core business model, let's dive into some of the specifics of their most critical activities. Attracting and retaining hosts, for instance, that's absolutely crucial for their success.
That makes a ton of sense because without hosts, there are no listings. There's no unique experiences to offer. So how do they ensure a steady stream of hosts and keep them happy?
Well, word of mouth is a very powerful force for them. Satisfied hosts often recommend the platform to others.
So organic growth plays a big role.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure they also, invest in actively recruiting new hosts and providing them with the resources they need to succeed.
Absolutely. They got to make sure the platform is easy to use, that it offers robust support, provides tools to help hosts manage their listings effectively, and they need to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
The platform has to be constantly evolving to meet those changing demands of both guests and hosts.
It sounds like a never-ending cycle of innovation and improvement.
It is, but it's essential for their continued growth and their dominance in the market. And of course, they can't forget about managing those legal and regulatory risks we talked about earlier.
Right. Navigating that complex web of regulations around short-term rentals is crucial for their survival. They need a team of experts constantly monitoring the legal landscape and adapting their operations.
Absolutely right. And then with their live and work anywhere policy, they're dealing with labor laws and tax implications in, countless jurisdictions. It's a logistical and financial puzzle that they have to solve constantly.
And on top of all that, they're a publicly traded company.
Both
So
of them.
they're under immense pressure to meet financial targets and keep investors happy.
Adds another layer of complexity. They need a robust financial management system to track their revenue, manage their expenses, and ensure they're in compliance with all the applicable regulations.
Wow, it's clear that running Airbnb is no walk in the park.
No.
They're juggling a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it's a fascinating case study in building and scaling a global business in the digital age. They've achieved remarkable success, but they face significant challenges as well.
Well, I think we've laid a solid foundation for understanding Airbnb's core business model.
I think so.
We've uncovered their key revenue streams, explored their major cost drivers, and then highlighted some of their most critical operational activities.
And we're just getting started.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Airbnb's business model. In the last part, we explored how they make money, some of their significant expenses, some of the operational hurdles they face.
Right. Now let's shift gears a little bit and look at the broader competitive landscape that Airbnb operates in.
Okay,
I mean, they're not the only player in this travel experience game,
right.
and they face competition from some pretty formidable opponents.
Absolutely. Traditional hotel chains like Marriott, Hilton, they're still major forces in this industry. So how is Airbnb positioning itself against these established giants?
Well, I think you've probably seen that hotels are trying to adapt.
Yeah.
A lot of them are attempting to offer more unique and personalized experiences,
Right.
to compete with Airbnb's diverse offerings.
Right, I've seen that. Boutique hotels, locally inspired designs, even partnerships with local businesses. Do you think these efforts are enough to truly challenge Airbnb, though?
It's tough. I mean, I think Airbnb's strength lies in their vast network of individual hosts.
Yeah.
Offering a level of authenticity and local flavor it's very difficult for those large chains to replicate.
That makes sense. But what about the online travel agencies? Expedia, Booking.com, they're a powerful force in the travel industry, offering everything from flights to rental cars.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're increasingly adding vacation rentals to their platforms as well.
Yeah.
Directly competing with Airbnb for those customers seeking alternative accommodations.
So how does Airbnb stand out in this crowded market? I mean, is it just about the uniqueness of their listings?
Unique accommodations are definitely a draw, but Airbnb also differentiates itself through its sophisticated use of technology.
Okay.
They've got these AI-powered algorithms that personalize recommendations for guests,
Wow.
matching them with properties that fit their preferences.
That's pretty impressive. Can you give an example of how these algorithms work?
Sure. So let's say you're searching for a cozy cabin in the mountains, for a romantic getaway. The algorithm is going to It's going to consider your past bookings, the types of listings that you favorited, even your browsing history.
Hmm.
And it's going to suggest, cabins that align with your tastes.
So it's like having a personalized travel agent kind of working behind the scenes.
Exactly. And beyond personalized recommendations, their algorithms also play a really crucial role in fraud detection,
Wow, wow.
ensuring a safe and secure platform for both guests and hosts.
I can see how that's so important in building trust. And of course, there's their live and work anywhere policy. It seems like a risky move, but does this approach to remote work actually give them a competitive advantage?
It's certainly a unique aspect of their company culture,
Yeah.
and it helps attract, top talent from around the world. But as we discussed earlier, managing that global workforce comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's true. Speaking of challenges, what are some of the other risks Airbnb needs to be aware of? We've talked about regulation,
hmm
but what other factors could potentially disrupt their business?
Well, economic downturns are a major concern. I
Yeah.
mean, when people tighten their belts, travel is often one of the first things that they cut back on.
Right.
And a significant portion of Airbnb's revenue comes from leisure travel, which is, very susceptible to economic
Yeah,
fluctuation.
so a recession could really hurt their bottom line.
Absolutely.
Are there any other kind of external threats they need to worry about?
Well, natural disasters and global health crises.
Oh, right.
These things can have a really devastating impact on the travel industry. I mean, we saw this with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Airbnb's bookings plummeted, practically overnight.
Wow. It's a stark reminder that even the most successful companies can be vulnerable to these forces outside their control. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about opportunities. What are some promising avenues for Airbnb's future growth?
Well, one exciting trend is the rise of bleisure travel.
Leisure.
Yeah, combining business trips with leisure time.
Oh, interesting.
So Airbnb is really well positioned to capitalize on this trend.
Okay.
Offering comfortable and well-equipped spaces for remote workers who want to, maybe explore a new destination after their workday is
I
done.
mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Working remotely from a beach bungalow during the day
Mm.
and then enjoying the local nightlife in the evening sounds a lot more appealing than being stuck in a traditional hotel room.
Exactly. And Airbnb is also, expanding beyond just accommodations.
Wow.
They're offering more experiences like cooking classes, guided tours, cultural immersions. They're building a whole ecosystem around travel, not just lodging.
So they're becoming a one-stop shop for travelers,
Yeah.
providing everything they need for a memorable experience.
That's the goal. They want to be the go-to platform for anyone seeking, unique and authentic travel experiences. But as with any successful company, they need to be adaptable and innovative to stay ahead of the curve.
You know, thinking about everything we've discussed, how do you see Airbnb's business model, you know, evolving in the next few years?
That's a great question. I think they need to double down on their strengths, particularly personalization.
Hmm.
Refining their algorithms to offer even more tailored recommendations. I mean, that could be a game changer.
Yeah,
Maybe even incorporating AI chatbots to provide, real-time support to guests and hosts.
I agree. And they can't afford to neglect their host community.
Yeah. Attracting and retaining, high-quality hosts, that's crucial. So providing them with better tools and resources and incentives will be vital.
And we can't forget about those ever-present regulations. They need to be proactive in working with policymakers, to shape sensible rules for short-term rentals.
Right.
Perhaps even become advocates for responsible tourism within the communities they operate in.
I think that's an interesting thought. Positioning themselves as a positive force within those communities could be a brilliant strategy,
Yeah.
benefiting both their public image and their regulatory standing.
As the world becomes increasingly digital, I think staying at the forefront of technology is essential for Airbnb.
Oh, yeah,
Who knows what innovations might disrupt the travel industry next?
that's right.
Maybe blockchain for secure bookings or virtual reality to preview properties.
You're absolutely right. Embracing these new technologies will be crucial for, enhancing the user experience, improving security, and potentially even creating entirely new types of of travel experiences.
It's clear that Airbnb's journey is far from over.
Yeah.
They've come a long way, but their future success really hinges on their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to maintain their unique brand identity in a rapidly changing world.
It'll be fascinating to see how they navigate these challenges and opportunities in the years to come.
Well, that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into Airbnb's business model. We've explored their competitive landscape, analyzed the risks and opportunities they face, and then we brainstormed some potential paths for their future. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of Airbnb's business model, but now it's time to kind of broaden our perspective a little bit.
Yeah, we've looked at the financials, the competitive landscape, potential future paths. I think now's a good time to sort of examine Airbnb's impact on the world around us.
Yeah, because their influence goes way beyond disrupting hotels.
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, they're changing how we travel, where we stay, even how we think about work and life these days.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Airbnb has really made travel more accessible,
Yeah.
opening up new destinations, new price points that were frankly out of reach for a lot of people.
They've empowered individuals to become these micro entrepreneurs, sharing their spaces, earning income. It's a whole new way to participate in the tourism economy.
Yeah, and for travelers, it's not just about affordable lodging. It's about these authentic experiences, connecting with locals, discovering these, hidden gems you wouldn't find in a guidebook.
That personal touch is a big part of their appeal. But I wonder, is this idealized sense of community, is it always the reality? Have we become maybe a little too romanticized about the Airbnb experience?
That's a really good point. I mean, not every interaction is perfect, and
Yeah.
some guests might have negative experiences or feel that certain hosts are prioritizing profit over a genuine connection.
Right. And let's not forget the impact on local communities.
Yeah.
While, Airbnb can bring economic benefits, it's also raised concerns about, rising housing costs and the displacement of long-term residents.
Absolutely. The influx of short-term rentals in some areas can really put a strain on housing markets,
Yeah.
pushing out residents, changing the character of neighborhoods.
There's also the issue of noise and disruption.
Oh, huge, sure.
A constant stream of tourists can create tension with the folks who live there permanently.
Right. It's a good reminder that even these well-intentioned platforms can have unintended consequences, and the very things that make Airbnb appealing, these unique spaces, the local connections, they can also create some friction.
So how can Airbnb address these concerns? I mean, can they balance the benefits of tourism with the needs of the communities where they operate?
It's a really complex challenge, and they are starting to take some steps. They're working with cities on regulations, collecting taxes, addressing community
I also
concerns.
see them promoting responsible tourism, encouraging guests to be mindful and respectful of their surroundings.
I think those efforts are really, really crucial for their long-term sustainability. Airbnb's success is intertwined with the well-being of the communities where they operate.
And beyond impacting travel and communities, I think Airbnb also reflects these broader societal shifts. The rise of the gig economy, remote work, the blurring lines between our professional and personal lives.
Yeah, their live and work anywhere policy is a great example of that.
Yeah.
It challenges this traditional workplace, and it offers a glimpse into a future where location is less tied to employment.
It empowers people to create these more flexible, more nomadic lifestyles,
Yeah.
working from anywhere with an internet connection.
But it also raises all these questions about work-life balance, social isolation, the future of work itself.
Right. It's like a microcosm of this larger conversation happening around the world.
Yeah.
How is technology changing our lives, and are these changes ultimately for the better?
And Airbnb is right at the center of that debate,
Yeah.
shaping not only how we travel, but how we live and work.
Well, it's been an incredible journey exploring the many layers of Airbnb's business model, from technology to community impact. They really offer a fascinating case study of the digital age.
So what can our listeners take away from this deep dive? How can they maybe apply these insights to their own lives?
Perhaps it's a reminder to consider the impact of our travel choices on local communities.
Yeah.
Are we supporting businesses that contribute positively? Are we being mindful guests?
Or maybe it's a prompt to rethink our own relationship with work. Could a more flexible or location independent lifestyle be a possibility?
Whatever the takeaway. We hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity and encouraged some critical thinking about the forces shaping our world.
Because in a world that's, just saturated with information, I think understanding the systems and the structures that influence our lives is more crucial than ever.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. So thank you for joining us on this intellectual adventure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.